Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fear to Freedom Project channel. I am your host and the creator of this amazing channel. I am Deborah, and I am excited today because we are live and we're going to be talking about fear today. And I got my girls here, my sisters here. Let me bring them in one by one. Yes, we have our rebirth alchemist here, Miss Marnie. We have Kelly from the Kelly Collective is here, and we have Katherine, our soul contract specialist, and we have Esther all the way from Bali, Indonesia, our Neurospicy Oracle. And thank you so much, ladies. We have one of our ladies that are not here right now. We're going to hold space for her until she comes right in. That's our ancestral bridge walker. That's Da'Vette. And we love her, and we will wait until she comes in. But we're going to get started because this is exciting for me. And I need this. And so this is the second part to the Overcoming Fear Roundtable. And if you did not check that out, just, check it out. I think maybe a couple weeks ago, we started talking about fear and the origins of it and how to get rid of it and all of those things. And because we are living in some uncertain times, and not just that, because we have all been programmed by fear. And so, most of us have had a spiritual awakening, and all of us have. And we understand that we need to see where fear is in our lives and bring it up to the surface so that we can get rid of it. So thank you for joining in. How are you ladies doing? I'm glad to see y'all.
Good to see you too, Boo. Good to see you too.
Yes.
Good to see you as well. Deb, I just wanted to, Da'Vette says she can see us, but I don't know if you can see her.
And there she is.
All right. I've been here. I've been like, I'm here. I'm sorry.
I couldn't see you. I have to scroll up. Sorry about that. But we held space for you. So
thank you.
Da'Vette is here. This is our ancestral bridge walker. So thank you for joining us today, joining in with us.
Yes.
But yeah, I just was saying, hey, I don't want to make this so formal. It was my first time doing it the last time we did it. And I was like, kind of looking at myself, judging myself and all of those things. And that's why we are here to bring all of those things, those ideas that we have about ourselves, bring that up to the surface and kind of talk about it. So I want to welcome everyone to the panel. Thank you so much for joining me and just walking alongside me on this journey, and also really showing up so that this channel can continue to grow and we can continue to bring information like this to the world. So I really honor you all for coming here. I want to, everything that we do, I'm so in tuned and in touch with my ancestors. I love them so much. They guide me and they give me wisdom. So I really just want to honor them. I just want to have a moment of silence to honor them in this space and just thank them for their wisdom and their guidance. We love you, great ancestors, and we call you forth. We welcome you and thank you so much for the love and the guidance that you give us. And we honor you so much because we know that you lived in fear, that there were times that you could not do anything but be afraid. and so in honor of you, we are breaking those cycles of fear. So we welcome you into the place. And so it is. All right. Well, I think I've said the purpose of why we're here, and I am going to not formally introduce everyone because you can say a little spiel about yourself if you want to. I'll give you like 15, 20 seconds, maybe 60. So Marnie, I want to start with you. You're a rebirth alchemist. Tell everyone what is that? How does that work for us?
Yes, thanks, Goddess Deborah. Yeah, I just help women come back into their voice and really come back into alignment into themselves and really move forward with their great purpose in life is really is the rebirth part, is like coming out into the world as your full, authentic, true self.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I honor you. Hey, little Kels.
Hey. Well, my name is Kelly Turner, and I am currently in the lab, I should say, in regards to my project. And it's simply the Kelly Objective. And not to box me into a specific situation, subject matter, but be able to have meaningful conversations and talk about things that matter and get other people's perspective on it. And the outcome that I would love to see is transformation, thought provoking, life moving forward.
Yeah, I love that, Kels. Yeah, I've been in the lab. That lab, I tell you, that is the place to be right now. That is exactly where I am, and that's why I laugh so hard because, yeah, I'm there too. Well, welcome, my sister. I'm glad
Thank
that you're
you.
here. And Da'Vette, you are next up on my screen. How are you, Miss
I am
Ancestral
well.
Walker?
Yeah. Well, I'm Da'Vette, and I have been speaking to the other side since I was a child. Um, I'm a channel, and I'm a cheerleader for all things of humanity that are good. And, um, you know, I'm just an inspirational motivator. So
Mm,
that's how I would categorize me. And I'm open, and I'm learning, and I'm evolving and
mhm,
becoming a better human. So
mhm.
yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for making that very, sometimes when people are watching and they like, oh, she's a rebirth alchemist, she's an oracle, she's a channel, she's got her own objective going on. And sometimes maybe people won't connect with that, but we are so human here and we are
Mhm.
having this human experience with everyone. So I do appreciate that. All right. And we have Katherine Ellie, that is our soul contract specialist. Now I'm telling you, this is something special. Tell us what is that? The soul contract practitioner. What do you do?
Yeah, that's a catchword, soul contract lately. But before you were born, your soul was busy and it was choosing the experiences, the achievements that you are to experience in this lifetime, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then what happened was you were born and you were wiped out. That memory was wiped out. So you've kind of been going around in the dark. And what I do is I decode your birth name because that contract is hidden in the frequency of your birth name, the sound of your birth name. So I decode that and I can tell you what your gifts and talents are, what your challenges, your karma is, what your life purpose is. So ultimately, I'm helping spiritual seekers that are stuck or struggling gain clarity and direction and find out who they truly are at their core, and then help them integrate so that they can thrive beyond limits.
I love that about you. And I have had a soul contract reading with you, and unbelievable, unbelievable. How in the world? But it was just so accurate. And I really thank you for that gift and sharing it. And certainly, if you're watching, then, you may want to consider that. But thank you. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Well, this is going to be twofold a little bit. I'm going to introduce Esther, because Esther is going to be leading us today in the activity and really just taking us down this journey of the archetypes of fear. So, Esther, I have to introduce you a little bit later, but I just kind of want to say this. This just feels so good to me. I'm so glad you're here all the way from Bali. Good morning to you. Um, Esty is an intuitive coach. She's an educator. She is a writer. She is a seeker of patterns and meaning in everyday life. She's been weaving threads of ancestral wisdom and cultural exploration and transformation and tying that into a tapestry of offerings that she has that will help you to grow into the full expression of yourself. And I'm so honored that you're here and that you're going to take over this roundtable today. So welcome. Welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Goddess. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be with you ladies again. Our panel last month, I feel like really activated some things for me as well. I'm sure for some of you as well. And it just so happened to coincide with this book that I was reading, Think, Grow Rich, and it had the 6 archetypes of fear, and it just really anchored in another activity I do with my writers and my clients around our inner landscapes and kind of looking at it from the inside out perspective. Before we hop in though, and we dive into the 6 types, I do want to invite Goddess Marnie to pull our card and set the tone for our workshop, as this is going to be some deep dive work. And so we want to really make sure we're anchored in. So I'm going to pass it on to Miss Marnie.
Yes, I'm ready.
Beautiful. Thank you, beautiful Goddess Esty. So I am pulling because we've just been talking. Yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
1 second. I just want to say hello to the proud Southern Belle. She's speaking to us. So we are live stream, and you can feel free to post your comments, your questions here. We do see you. So thank you for tuning in, and welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, go ahead, sister.
Beautiful. Well, welcome. We're going to be pulling from The Secrets of the Ancestors as we are connecting deep into our ancestry today. And always, this is by Goddess Abiola Abrams, who's a beautiful goddess that's done several decks and books, and a few of us have been doing her certification program. So we can all just kind of take a deep breath in, ground in. Goddess Deborah already called all of our ancestors in, so we're just going to make sure we're connecting to those loving, benevolent, healed ancestors today to really guide us into the discussion around fear and the 6 archetypes that Goddess Esty is going to do for us. And we'll just see what the message from the ancestors is today. All right. Of course it is. So we got Root of Earth, Inspired Action. This is card number 38 for anyone that isn't more into numerology there. It's a really, the Earth cards are really connecting us into like that grounding. And then he's holding up here, right? It kind of looks like a coin up here. And so really about like prosperity in there too, and really about like good news. You can just feel the energy of this card. That's all like blessings, and we're coming into spring too. And this is very much like that spring energy, those like buds coming up, the like sun coming back out for those of us that are not in Bali and may not have seen the sun for a little while. And really it's like take advantage of the opportunities that are presenting themselves to you. And be careful though not to overcommit to too many things and too many people. So also I know coming into spring, sometimes it's like, ooh, I've been hibernating. For those of us more in the Northern Hemisphere, we're like, let's do it all, right? And then we kind of go into the summer burnt out, and the summer already burns us out with the heat of the summer. So just making sure we're like really keeping our energy aligned and authentic to what we want to be doing, and really planting our seeds. This is the best time, right? We're coming right into that springtime. And if you are in a hemisphere where you're coming into the fall time, it's a great time to kind of just be looking back and preparing for winter. But for those of us coming into the springtime, plant your seeds, stay grounded, get in that earth, put your feet in that earth, put your hands in the soil, hug a tree. And really the man on this card is High John the Conqueror. So he really honors the physical world and is deeply connected to earth and nature here. And and it's really about, no matter what, this ancestral energy remains unbroken. So honor this energy, stop sitting on your ideas, take the next step. And the declaration on this card is good news follows me. So it seems appropriate.
Good news follows us. Good news follows you all, whoever's watching. That's good. You know, that's really good. I have gotten that ancestral wisdom too in my carpool. So this is right on time. This is take inspired action. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, ancestors and goddesses.
Yeah, well, I'm going to turn it over to my sister, Esther. I am going to let you take the wheel on this and do your third.
All right. Thank you so much, Goddess. And thank you so much, Marnie. I think that
now, do you need to have a screen or something, share your screen or present? Or
no, we're just vibing. We're vibing. I do have a little some notes here for myself, but we're channeling, we're oracling today. And I will also send you a link to send to your audience, and you can put on the replay, but there is a free ebook of this book that I read. So for anyone who wants to deep dive this further, you can have access to that. But basically, this is about how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear, and to really understand the different archetypes of fear and how it shows up in our lives. And one of the biggest things that I've understood about fear, and we talked a little bit about this last time, is fear learns you, and it will show up differently as you grow. It grows too. So it's like it kind of puts on different costumes and starts showing up in different ways. So every time we think we have learned how to slay fear or kind of overcome it, it will come back in a different way. And, you know, I attribute this to as long as we're here, we still have lessons to learn. So it's not that you're not doing it right. It's not that you haven't figured it out. It's just that you're still here to learn things. And so fear is going to come alongside you to continue to help you to learn. Mm-hmm. One of the things that this book talks about is the 3 biggest obstacles for reaching our success and to really even activate our 6th sense, which is indecision, doubt, and fear. And indecision is really the seedling, and then doubt, when it's coupled with that, it's crystallized doubt. So you've got your doubt first, then you've got the indecision, which crystallizes, and then those 2 blend and become fear. This blending process is often slow, and that is one of the reasons why we don't notice when it's happening, because it germinates and it grows without its presence being observed. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at each one of the 6 archetypes. And what I really want you to focus on is actually 3 areas in your own life, almost kind of like we're pulling oracle cards. And the spread is really, you know, first one is, what is a fear that you've overcome recently? Mm-hmm. Then the second one is going to be, what is the fear that's present in your life right now? And then the third one is, what do you feel like, based on the slow seedlings, could be the next fear that you're going to have to slay? So it's not just about, you know, there's only one type of fear that you're always going to be in and kind of navigating, but it's about, you know, you're going to constantly be interacting with all of them at different points, and being mindful of the lessons you learn once you've overcome a fear, so you can teach that to those that are coming up behind you that are going to be facing those same fears. And then so you can be present with the fear that is with you right now, so you can best battle it, defeat it. And then being mindful of, how do we prevent the kind of onslaught that might come from the next fear? So it's like we can continue to equip ourselves with ways to embrace fear, and less trying to keep it from coming, because it's going to come, but learning how to sit with it, be with it, integrate it, and navigate it. So we're going to do a little exercise. Before I share with you what they are, I want you to kind of navigate those questions that I just asked you. So I want you to jot down where you think you are in those 3 areas. So the first one, again, is, what is a fear you feel like you've just overcome? So if you, obviously you don't know necessarily the archetypes yet, but just navigating a situation, maybe journaling out, what situation did you come through where you actually felt like, hey, fear didn't get the best of me in that season, or it got the best of me and then I overcame it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is, what do you think maybe you're navigating right now in fear? And then the third one is, what do you feel like could be some seedlings? It's not yet there. It's not kind of attacking you yet, but it could be. So I'll give you an example. If you've already started journaling, that's completely fine. But I'm just going to give you an example to help you anchor in from my own life. I had a huge fear of speaking and being seen. And that was a huge fear for me. I used to actually brown out, not black out, but brown out when I would be on stage. And that was that fear of being seen, that fear of people, what they think about me. And, and I obviously here in this moment, this is a good example of being able to step outside of that fear, being a principal at my school and being able to speak in front of parents and students and teachers has really helped me kind of navigate that and kind of anchor in and be present with my body and start to learn what is that fear? What is it trying to take me away from?
Mm-hmm.
A current one that I'm experiencing now is, and I've talked about this to the goddesses who've been in the ancestor certification with me, but, this kind of fear of this next step and I'm repurposing and reshifting and kind of getting rid of old identities and stepping into a new one that's really unknown. And the unknown can be really scary because we don't know what we are going to be, how we're going to be received. And so it feels kind of similar to the first one as well. But I think also the other one is, am I going to be able to survive? Am I going to be able to sustain myself by following this gift? And then the third one is a little bit around, I think, mortality and like really understanding that I'm shifting into this this other season. I'm past my maiden season. I've chosen not to be a physical mother. And so, it almost makes me want to jump straight to crone. And I know I have time still in this other season of mothering and birthing and creating. But it's a different season for me. So those are the three that I'm in currently. And I would love to hear from our goddesses in the panel, what's coming up for you before we jump in. So does anyone want to share?
Who's going first?
I can jump in. Oh, or
Katherine. Right, whoever.
Yeah. While you were speaking, this is so interesting to me. I think what I've just recently overcome is in my business. I have a fear of failure, and I think I have really kind of taken one layer off. I've just kind of moved forward. And I realize now that fear is how I learn, one. And two, the only fear is not trying. It's not taking action. When I heard that, something shifted within me and I said, oh no, no, I haven't come this far to come this far, and I'm not going down like that. So I really think that I have really moved forward. And as you were speaking, Esty, too, it's like taking baby steps. I used to look at, I have to go to the finish line, it's 0 to 60. And then I would skip all those little steps. So I would be looking at the end result and it would just be overwhelming. So by taking the baby steps, and that's what I'm doing now, I'm taking one step at a time and going through that doorway of fear. And then I take the next step, because when I go through the doorway of fear, it's like now I trust a little bit more and I have faith that I'm going to be okay, that uncertainty isn't going to be catastrophic like I've experienced maybe in the past. So yeah, it's taking those little baby steps. And what I think is coming up for me is I also have a fear of success. And that success for me, in my business, especially because my business I've realized is an extension of me. And as I heal me, I heal, the business helps me heal. I guess that's how I want to say it. But this fear of success is because my limiting belief is it's going to be really hard work and it's going to be a lot of responsibility. Do I want to take that on? you talk about mortality. Here I am almost in my 7th decade. There's this sense of urgency because I really, really want to fulfill my soul's calling and my mission. And yet I know, there's a time limit there. So, yeah, I'm really looking at the fear of success right now, and preparing for that to come. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Katherine. I think we can all resonate with that fear of success and that fear of the hard work, and I think I can't remember who said it or how they said it, but around, it's about choosing which hard you want, right? And it's like, we think that the path that we haven't reached is going to be harder than the one that we're currently on, but we also create suffering around that as well. So it's like just choosing your hard. And I love the work that you are doing. So I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else want to share? Yes, go ahead.
Then Kels, then Dee, then me.
Beautiful. My fear that I've just recently overcome is this fear of being dependent on myself. So I've been very much without even realizing it, always my whole life being in some kind of codependency relationship, even if it was with my business. So even if I wasn't physically in a relationship, I was constantly in this codependence. And so just recently, having made big steps to overcome this fear of being solely dependent on myself as well. Not that I don't have community around me, but it's that fear of like, can I do it all? And knowing that we can. And then the present fear is really kind of similar to that success or failure, kind of that but it's more around the financial that, and even Goddess Esther, you kind of managed to touch on that too, of like, can I sustain myself? So the present fear is kind of like this fear around financial abundance and financial security. And also this fear of, because I have had $1 million businesses before, that if I get there again, will I lose it all again? So I have this fear that I'm working through of like, of this success, but also of this like not success. So, and I already know the next one with some things coming up in my life that kind of ties back to the one I just overcame, is really this fear of like, I'm not enough. So I know that that's kind of one that's coming, or that's going to be sitting just under the surface of like, it all is like this fear of that I'm not enough.
Wow.
I think it's super massive to be able to oscillate between, what has been and what, is coming, and just kind of being able to trust and have that faith, and knowing that you are surrounded, even if you feel like in this kind of almost more isolated state. And it's like that dichotomy of wanting to be able to do it on your own, but then also knowing that you have that support without it being codependent. I think it's, you're weaving through a lot of complex dualities at the moment. I think it's really beautiful how you're doing it so gracefully. So thank you for sharing this.
Thank you, beautiful.
Doing good, Goddess Marnie.
Okay, Goddess Kels, would you like to share?
Yeah, something that I've overcome was recreating myself. But to a certain extent, which leads me into the fear of now, there's an unsettling. There's this unsettling, and it's a very uneasy feeling because I don't know what to contribute it to. And being in a space where you just don't know feels unsettling even the more for me, because I can't figure it out when I used to be able to figure it out. At least I felt like I was. And then some of the seedlings that I think are there based on just kind of tapping in and hearing what you all are saying and have said, it brings up things for me. And the biggest thing that are some seedlings would be the weight of success. I've had levels of success. I haven't reached the level of success that I would like or I truly desire. But the weight of the success that I have had, that's a story that people really don't know. you don't necessarily share that. Those that are close to you or close enough to you, they may or may not know. But that weight of success has been taken me through some rough challenges and some rough places. And it has challenged me in a place where it can be very scary. You know, the weight of success, the things that come that you can't foresee, you can't prepare for. These are things that happen because they're outside of you. They don't come from you. They happen outside of you in response to whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I think that, you know, that's just it. It's the weight of it. And, you know, this book talks more about how fears are just the state of mind. And so the more that we kind of get into the stories that we tell ourselves about the thing that we're going to be doing, the more we can start to kind of soften the weight of the story, because that isn't here yet, right? That's not, it's there, but it's not. And it might not be in the same frequency that we've seen it for others. And so just kind of learning how to navigate that, I feel like it's one of life's greatest challenges for sure. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Da'Vette, if you'd like to share next.
So one of the fears that I just came through was not listening to myself, which ties into a present fear that I'm not enough. You know, and that will some kind of way show up in my future as hard times again, like me holding on and cycling through that again and again. And man, that sometimes will bake my noodle. Come on, what can I do to reach a level where it doesn't feel so hard? So yeah, I share the sentiments of a lot of you that I don't feel like sometimes I'm enough.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Which then breeds this feeling of not trusting yourself, not trusting your own voice. You know, maybe you really didn't hear it. You know, let me check with 10 other people to make sure I'm hearing correctly. And no one person that you consult can hear what you're hearing, you know.
Right.
And just learning through this whole journey that I just, my close friends know that I just had to go through, trusting that voice that, nope, it is correct. I did speak to you. I am talking to you. You know my voice because my voice is your voice. And you can be okay with trusting yourself. That's been a journey for me. So.
Whew, yes, I think what you said about your noodle being baked, I think that really resonated with me in terms of this sci-fi novel called Dune. Many of you know it now of the movie, but one of the famous lines in that book is "Fear is the mind killer," and you know it really it can paralyze us, and it can keep us from trusting ourselves, and it can keep us, and you know that's the thing. It's that indecision turns into doubt, then turns into this full-blown fear. So it's catching it when it's still in the indecision phase. It's catching it when it's in that doubt phase, and knowing that we can move through it, and it is just a state of mind, and it is just a story that we're telling ourselves. And you know, I want you to know, you know, that you are enough, and that we see you and we hold you, and we're so grateful for you and the gifts that you have for the community, and what you're putting out into the world is so necessary. And you know, it is a magical thing that you're doing, and we're here for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sisters. Thank you.
That's right. You are so enough. We all are enough. I'm going to say hello to Mr. Levon Wright. Thank you for watching. And Miss Proud Southern Belle said, we also care too much about what other people think. So, yes, thank you for that. Well,
I agree.
yes, we do.
In some way we do. Like,
yes.
It may not be to the general public, but it could be someone in our private life that we really do want their approval.
Exactly.
Also, I would like to add to that piece about the caring what other people think, because fear is so contagious. And so when we take our indecision to someone else, and if they're not anchored into their own truth and their own ability to kind of block out their own fears in that space to hold you, they will project their fears onto you with a quickness. It's not intentional, but it will grow. And then both of your indecisions will turn into, will jump straight out of doubt and straight into fear. And it's not anyone's fault, but it's one of those things that we are our own oracle. We all have our own connection to source. And so trusting that and leaning into that is what we really, really need to do. And so in fear, even though sometimes it can feel like that's when you need to go to other people, but it's in those moments, unless they're really your trusted counsel, you really want to be careful of allowing others to chime in that moment, because fear is contagious.
And I just wanted to say also, there's a fear of judgment, what other people think. It's a fear of being judged. And these people on social media, we don't know them, but we're so afraid that if we post something, they're gonna know we're imposters. They're gonna judge us. We're gonna be humiliated. But shouldn't we worry more about our own opinion and just worry about what we're speaking and speak our truth?
Well, you know what? Absolutely, we should speak our truth. And you know what? I have had fear of being judged. That was one of the fears that I had to actually get over. And I pretty much lived my life in fear. So, yeah, I've been all things fear. And it's so funny because I've always been serving and helping others to overcome their fear, yet I was afraid. And the one thing that the fear that I have overcome lately is actually being seen, and this channel, this YouTube channel helps me. And the challenge that I did helped me to get on here every day and say something, show up for myself. I was afraid that I would not actually meet or maybe live my purpose out. And so I've overcome that as well, because I learned that we don't have to rush. I mean, we're not competing against anyone. We don't have to compete. What is for you is for you. Your purpose is going to be served. Your soul came here for a purpose, and it's going to fulfill its purpose. So just relax, Deborah, just hold on, relax, and there are seedlings of fear that come about whenever I take my eyes from off of my inside of me. Whenever I look outside of me, anytime I look outside of me, then the seedling, oh, wait, there's my, oh, she's back on here. But anytime I look outside of myself, I get like these seedlings of fear, what's going on now. And obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. And because we are impacted by the collective energy, sometimes I feel like that. So it's just very important for me to have a practice and to stay grounded. And that's what I've been doing, keeping myself grounded, having a practice that I can rely on. So I'm thankful for that. I want to say, shout out to Monica. She is my sister from Panama, and she is here watching. And our sister Danae is here on the panel. So, ladies, feel free. And even Mr. Levon Wright, feel free to ask a question if you have any, and share your fears, because I know you have some. All right. Well, that is it for me, Miss Esty.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for sharing and being vulnerable and being willing to share where you're at. I think, somebody in the comments said that this is what they needed. And that's part of the medicine of our experiences, about sharing our truths, about, speaking out and being emotionally naked, is really allowing people to see where we're at through the filters that we've all created for ourselves, because it's such a human experience to have fear. It's so normal. It's part of the journey. It's, so it's about equipping ourselves, and we can do that by sharing, by hearing the stories of our elders, being the elders, and sharing that with those that are coming behind us. So I just want to thank you all for sharing those. And we'll jump into the 6 basic fears. So these are, a combination of all of the different things that we've all talked about, but these are the main kind of pillars. And, the book talks about how there are some people in this lifetime that are very fortunate and that don't suffer from all 6. But it is very common that we go through all 6 at some point. And these are named in order of the most common appearance. So the first one is the fear of poverty, which I think, we heard it. We all said the fear of success. And at the end of that, it's not really the success that we're afraid of, but it's that fear of, if we don't succeed, there's failure, which means we will be destitute. So I think it's, again, often what we think we are afraid of. It takes some deeper digging to be like, what is actually at the root of this? What is spurring this? What was the seed? The next one I think is so fascinating that it's the second one, but it's Katherine named it as well. This is the fear of criticism, or as she said, the fear of judgment. And it's so up there. We are not individual beings. We are beings of community. We do care about, what our community thinks. And we used to live in societies where if you upset the community, you were going to be ostracized. And that meant poverty. That meant death. That meant you weren't going to survive, because we need each other. So fear of criticism is major, so that's the second one. The third one is the fear of ill health. And I think you can see it in our society right now. I think it's a huge one that we actually glorify the fear of ill health more so than we do the others, in terms of when we see people pushing themselves past their limit in the name of being healthy, in the name of, doing the right diet and, doing all the biohacking and doing it. It's all about being this fear of, having frailness in our bodies and not being able to be in control. And so it's something that I think is actually a hard one to recognize in ourselves, because it's so sneaky. So the fear of ill health is a major one. And so those are the bottom of most of one's worries. Those top 3 are the ones that you can probably pinpoint almost all of your fears, and they go back to that. But there are 3 other ones that are pretty major, and that's the fear of loss of love of someone. And that can be physically losing that love because they've died, or physically losing that love because of separation, or just, losing that love of someone because of, a disagreement or a misunderstanding, or because of politics, or whatever the reason is. But the fear of loss of love of someone is number 4. Number 5 is the fear of old age. I think, again, that kind of goes hand in hand with that fear of ill health. I think about that movie from the 90s called Death Becomes Her. If you haven't seen it, it is such a classic look at our society and kind of commentary about this fear of old age and what people will go to, the lengths that they will go to kind of skip those steps and kind of like, I can live longer and da, 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 da. So I think the fear of old age is something that as a society, we need to learn how to embrace better, learn how to become older better, because it's so normal. It is going to happen. There is no fighting it off. And so it's just embracing it and doing it with grace. And then the very last one is the fear of death and, being afraid of our mortality. And I think there is so much that we try to control in our everyday lives. And when we can reconcile the fear of death and know that that is coming, and we have no control over when or how that's going to happen, and we can have peace at that, there is so much more, I I think, expansion and width of life that we can live, because we often don't realize when we're choosing not to do things because we might think that that could create death, and it feels super scary. But again, it's just as natural as birth. And, I have a friend who's going through a death doula training right now, and the lessons that she's learning about that are so potent and powerful because, again, it is just a simple fact of life. If you ain't growing old, you're dead. I love that. Yep.
Monica. Exactly. So you might as well accept it, she says.
Yeah, just accept it. Like that's where we're at. Okay, so I do want to kind of give some prompts for each one. Again, as we are kind of going through all of these at different times. And so I will give a little prompt for each one. And the first one is going to be around the fear of poverty. So I want you to reflect on a moment when fear of poverty held you back from a creative endeavor or business opportunity. If you did, how did you overcome it? And if you didn't, what would you do differently now? So we're going to just take a moment to think on that. If you want to journal, you can. If you want to write in the comments, you're welcome. And then obviously, goddesses, if you're feeling called to vocally or verbally respond, I'm here for that as well.
And since we have six basic fears, maybe if one of us will take just one for the sake of time, if you want to share briefly, just each one take one. And also comments as well too. That's a huge fear for most people. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to tell you, I was afraid. I mean, poverty never looked good. It never, I guess, now that I know we were not sent here to be in poverty, but that was always something that never was appealing to me because I helped I served poor people all of my career, and they were the ones that were forgotten, it seemed like. So, and yeah, I just did not ever want to be in that position. And I don't know if I was afraid of it. I just never wanted to be in the position where I couldn't take care of myself. And sometimes if you think about it, we were taught to do certain things like go to school, get an education, do this so that you can, have the money and all of that. I wasn't really taught or felt inclined to do something creative. I didn't even know that I was creative. Right. So I thought creative people were like the artsy people in school, people like that, and so, yeah, that produced a lot of fear in me. Honestly, it really did. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's just it. It's the poverty. I was just thinking about it when you were talking about it. It's, I've been working with the Sustainable Development Goals for the last 10 years or so in the different schools that I work in. And number one, the first development goal is actually zero poverty. So it isn't like that society doesn't realize that this is the number one, this is the number one thing that we're trying to combat as a society. And I think, so it's going to show up in this way. And then Couples Light said, not being able to look after and support family financially, that's hard. And I think, that's it too. It's poverty doesn't just impact us as an individual. It impacts us as a community and our ability to serve and our ability to do our purpose. When we are in scarcity, we don't have the safety in our body to connect to our channel, to listen to the cues when it comes to, hey, maybe you need to take the day off because you're meant to be helping this person. And if you can't equate that, if you immediately start to think, well, if I do that, then I'm going to get fired or I'm going to get docked pay and I can't afford that. It's limiting. It limits us from living in our full capacity. It limits us from being able to serve those around us. So I think that's a really powerful one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, because of timing, and as Goddess Deborah said, I'm going to go through the next question, and then we'll call on one person, and then we'll kind of do that throughout. So, but I do recommend that everyone journal through all of these, and I'll send these prompts to you as well, Goddess Deborah. So for those of you that want to dive deeper later on. So the next one is fear of criticism. So I want you to think of a time that you were criticized creatively. How did it affect your work moving forward? And just journal through that experience, you know. And I think about when I was criticized from my writing, and I am a writer now, but there was a lot of fear around stepping into that identity and stepping into that, even if I didn't get published, but just being able to use it as a tool to connect with myself, that criticism created a chasm for me. So how, we are deeply impacted by words, and people always saying sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I don't think that that's true at all. Words are so powerful. Words are spells. We are constantly impacted by the words that people put onto us, that we put onto ourselves. And so I think, reframing that and knowing that the words that we are hearing and that we are reading and that we are writing and that we are saying are powerful, are potent, are going to create our perceptions of ourselves. So, yeah.
Hi, Mama Mia. Welcome. Hello, Mama Mia. Listen, Couples Light said she's a writer, but not getting responses from the readers that she had expected, whatever responses she had expected. And that was kind of hard. Most of the time people are just watching you. They, you want them to respond, but they are actually watching and they're responding internally. So you keep writing. You keep doing your part. You keep writing. I love that. Don't you worry about what they're watching you and they're responding. You just don't see it. Yes. All right. What's next? Who's next? Which fear are we talking about?
We were talking about the fear of criticism. Does anybody in our panel want to share a time that you were creatively criticized?
Yeah. I was always a singer, and my mom believed in me and my family believed in me, but the collective of our culture making it feel as if my career as a singer was not something to be taken serious, which then made me want to go get a second career, which I did, and retired from that as a behaviorist. But my friend Kelly met me as a singer. And those, I think you may not have that fear in your home right there with you, but the collective fear of your culture can affect your decision making, in the sense that they may not say it to you, but it's just, they don't make money, and so you hear that, and that's the seed, that's not something you really should take serious. And though they're applauding your performance, they're also, the collective of our culture is it deterred me from really wanting to go head first into the theater, which I did the theater, but taking it even further. And I think those of us who can keep their creative juices and not allow anyone else to affect them, they really do deserve a lot of encouragement, because it's very hard to keep your dreams when so many people are saying things that could be negative. And that was my experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Da'Vette. I think that's, creative pursuits are ones that are most criticized, yet they are the ones that we consume the most. And we celebrate the most when they are what we say is quote unquote successful. And so it's so fascinating to me that it's not encouraged more in our youth, because it creates joy, it creates connection, it creates community. it is, storytelling, singing, all of these things are such beautiful things that we, some people will listen to a CD over and over and over again, or, people will binge watch TV, and that was created, through storytelling, through acting, through theater, through these different creative pursuits that aren't seen as good until you get to the side where you're a millionaire. They don't give you a chance to build to that, but we allow a doctor to go through residency and be an intern and do all of that thing, but we don't allow that same grace and that same slow progression of creative pursuits. So I think, it makes sense that criticism would deter you and kind of create that seed of indecision and that seed of doubt. So, I'm grateful that you shared that. Thank you. And we'll jump into the next one, which is fear of ill health. So the prompt here is, I want you to think about a time where the fear of ill health snuck up on you. How did it sneak up on you? And how did it show up in your life in a way that created, some decision-making that may have been a little bit wonky? How did the fear of ill health kind of sideswipe you? So take a moment to go ahead, Kels.
For me, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2001. So ill health did sneak up on me. I was perfectly healthy. I didn't have an issue. I wasn't sick. I didn't feel sick. And then felt a lump one day. And it changed the trajectory of my life path going forward. And then even past that, dealing with the fact that I was that sick. And then if it should come back again, you got all of these, just a whole lot of different barrage of seasons that you go through, even past that. Well, I'm way past almost 23, 24 years now, but it's still there. It's still something to consider in the way I eat, in the way I move, in the way I live my life now. It has these ill health things. Recently, I have a family member that suffered a massive stroke. So now I'm like, okay, well, no, we can't prevent everything, but what can I do now to make sure that it lessens my, chances of possibly it happening to me? So I think that's all in the fear of ill health. Nobody wants to be sick. I think about, my family member now in regards to that. Like, it's unthinkable for me even to know that they're in that space. I've been in that space, not like that, but I've been there. So I understand what it feels like to be incapacitated. It's just, ill health is definitely a thing. It really is, especially when it sneaks up on you and you don't have a family history of it, but yet it's happening to you. What do you do?
I think that it's so shocking to the system. It's so, again, it takes away our ability to control our circumstances. And so to feel like we can prevent that in some way is so, it feels so satisfying, because it's like we can control this circumstance and we can shift this outcome. And so it's really important to find a way to do that in a balanced way where it doesn't keep us from living in life now. And so I think that's so important. Thank you for sharing that, Kels. And thank you for being a testament to, being able to move through that and to be able to survive that and to be able to be thriving, 20 plus years later. So we're grateful that you're here and that you've made it through. Okay, the next one is the fear of loss of love. And so I want you to consider a relationship that may have stifled your creativity or your passion or your purpose. But how did the fear of losing that love play into kind of your journey and maybe keeping you from making decisions that you might needed to have made?
I would love to speak to this because my journey started as a young child, and there was a loss of love with my parents. And that was my foundation. My limiting beliefs started back in childhood. And I couldn't understand at that time that it wasn't me. There wasn't something that I did that caused me to not be loved by my parents. So fast forward, here I am, going through my life trying to find healing, find what's wrong with me, fix me. I thought I was broken. And it took me all these years, 6 decades. And I found in my soul contract reading that I have a mother wound, I have a father wound. These are things that my soul wrote into my life. This is something that I'm here to do. So I have suffered heartbreak. I have lots of heart walls up, and I'm here to heal my heart. And not only heal my heart, but as I heal my heart and I learn, I'm here to help others heal their heart wounds. And so this is my passion. And when I had that soul contract reading and found out that was my purpose, I had been a nurse for over 40 years. Surprise, surprise, right? But how debilitating it had been over those years, and nothing seemed to work. And just knowing that my soul was here to heal hearts and to help others, because I knew I was always going to be of service to others, but to have it confirmed and validated, it was a life-changing shift for me. And now it's my mission and my passion to help those others. And so I just really wanted to speak to that. So
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's super important as we continue to do this work to look and analyze and name these different fears, is to look and see, where did they come from? So, we're only in phase 1 of working with our fears. It's naming them. That's step 1. Then step 2 is really looking at, okay, where did this come from? And, being able to name it in terms of that's coming from the mother wound, it's coming from the father wound. Like I know exactly that feeling of seeing the thing from our parents and then internalizing it and creating this narrative and this story and these rules for ourselves, and then living our lives to the T, to that rule that we didn't even realize that we were, creating to protect ourselves. As children, that's when we're so potent at being spell casters. And so we're constantly casting spells around ourselves as we're watching the world around us. I love the movie Practical Magic, and the little girl, she creates a love spell to protect herself, and then doesn't realize later that it's coming true because she was such a powerful, potent witch. And we are all so powerful and potent, and it slowly starts to get chiseled away as we get older. So then we don't recognize our own magic when it comes back to us. So it's being able to do those soul contracts and being able to recognize those wounds and then being able to heal them. It's so powerful.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing about that. Growing up with abuse from parents, I lived in victimhood, and I shifted when I realized that this was something that my soul was here to do, to help other people. So I think I just lost my train of thought. I should have done the old age one, but yeah. So thank you for saying that. It does limit you, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
We're grateful for you too, Goddess. And I always think anytime we have a thought that leaves us, it's just reseeded itself in our garden, and it's going to flourish back and bloom later. So I know that will come back just super strong. So I'm going to ask about the fear of old age. I'll give you that prompt, and then we have 2 left. So thank you for bearing with us, those that are watching. This is some deep work. So again, it's not going to be easily encapsulated in one full hour. So, those of you that are watching, give yourself permission to pause. If you're watching the replay, give yourself permission to pause and come back to these different prompts as well if you need. Fear of old age. So how does the fear of aging affect your long-term creative goals, and how can you harness that into a strength? How does fear of aging creep up and keep you from maybe making decisions that could be super beneficial for you as well? And I'm going to pass it on to our lovely goddess, Marnie, who can share for us.
Thanks, Goddess Esty. It's interesting. When I was thinking about this one, I owned a spa and wellness center for 15 years, and it was one of my $1 million businesses. And I used to use the fear of old age to sell my products. So not products I made, but I had a skincare line. And so it really made me think of that. Like it was, and like at that time, when I first owned it, I was only 26 when I owned it. So I didn't have the fear of old age at that point. I was just tuning into that fear. And really now it's interesting now as I'm, 20 years past that stage that I'm like, okay, now I'm getting more into this, like, okay, fear of the gray hair that's coming through, or fear of the like wrinkles I'm seeing, and realizing why the clients would buy what we sold, because it did work. But it just like, yeah, it can just like sneak up, and it just is for me now when I look at it, it's not appearance that I'm afraid of. And so I've kind of gone the exact opposite of what my business used to be, of like this fear of appearance. Now it's a fear of like old age, that I haven't done enough, that I haven't put enough out into the world, not in the sense like I haven't checked off enough things off my box in the to-do list, but that I haven't changed the world enough, that I'm not going to be in a healthy state in old age either, right? I look at our society now, and in a general wording, most of our elderly or more mature seniors are not healthy. It's not like a good living. So it kind of brings it back to that fear of ill health again, too, right? Those two are tied so strongly that it can just sneak up. And the decisions, I know in one of my courses, they were saying that, like, through one of my Ayurvedic courses, the decisions we make today, and this kind of brought that fear of old age to home, was like the decisions we make today is actually 20 years from now what's going to be affecting our body. And so I'm like, oh, those decisions I made as a 20-year-old, oh crap, those are now affecting me now in my 40s. And now the decisions I'm making now. And so just thinking of it in that term of like, how can I not live in that fear of old age, but how can I be conscious of becoming healthy in my old age as well? So I think just having that dichotomy of like, not the fear, but the consciousness.
I love that. Not the fear, but the consciousness. That's it. That's the medicine. It's really learning that balance of being fully present in the now, giving our past versions of ourselves who didn't know better grace, and then, being grateful that in this present moment, you do know better for the future you. So it's kind of that, it's just filtering everything with grace. If we can do that, I think that is where we can soften, because so often, that second fear, that fear of criticism, we actually put onto ourselves, and then it kind of creates just so much more destabilization, because we're actually doing the thing that we're fearing of others doing to us. We do it to ourselves first. And then, so I think that's a beautiful place to be in, is to recognize where you were and to recognize where you're going. And I love also that you're able to kind of shift that narrative, because that's what we're told in marketing and business, is to, sell to the pain points. And so, it can be so easy to be on that wave of, okay, well, I can see quite clearly how this fear is playing out in people's consumerism habits, but to be able to shift that as we get older and more conscious. You said you were 26, so you hadn't even gone through your Saturn return yet. So, you weren't conscious yet in my mind of what you were doing. And so it's like being able to then be conscious of how you're selling ethically and empathically, and being able to speak to transformation and speak to healing and speak to that more soft place is really beautiful. Okay, so we have one last prompt, everyone, and this one is the fear of death. So I want you to reflect on how the awareness of your mortality influences your creative expression, and does it hinder you or does it motivate you? And as you're journaling through that, I will go ahead and speak to this one as, for me, I had a life-altering accident, which really actually catapulted me forward. And, I used to not fear death at all. I didn't have any healthy reverence for it. I was very much living on the edge of life. And My accident, although had nothing to do with that kind of lifestyle, it was a freak accident. I got thrown off my motorbike and catapulted into a wall, cracked open my third eye, and had like this life-changing experience. But it actually created this healthy sense of reverence for death and this healthy sense of presence and being in the moment and knowing that, you know, each word I say to the person I see, the last thing I say is so important, because you don't know if you're going to be able to say that thing to them. You don't know if you'll see them again. To really accept everyone as they are in that moment, who they're showing up as, knowing that that moment is no longer going to ever exist in the future, you know, because every decision we make shifts us. So every relationship we have is going to continually shift. And so that accident and actually facing death actually helped me, I think, live more presently and be in a state of where, so, you know, I think not having a fear of death is also not great. So it's kind of having that healthy sense of like, you know, death is coming, and that's okay. And it's so part of our lifestyle. So actually, how do I embrace this life now in a way that can propel me forward? So I do think navigating that, it's actually motivated me now to be able to just really live as authentically as possible, because this is that one life. And yeah, so that concludes our dissection of an analysis of the archetypes of fear. I'm so grateful for all of you to trust me to guide you through. I am working on a hypnosis that will allow you to kind of go inwards more and actually work with your subconscious, as again, sometimes the things that are coming up on the surface aren't really hitting those things that are kind of creating some of our decisions, because it's so sneaky. So that is something I'm working on, and I'll pass it over to Deborah, Goddess Deborah, when I'm finished with it. But I'm grateful for you all for allowing me to be here with you today.
You are amazing. Oh my goodness. I love you. Shimmy through this. You need to, that's what I'm talking about. Shimmy. I love it. You are so amazing. And thank you so much. Yes, Rick is saying yes. And Couples Light said, we can overcome fear. We can overcome all of it. And that is really, you know, the next part of it, because I want to ask you, Couples Light, you are talking and responding a lot here. And I love that. We appreciate everyone that's watching. How have you overcome fear? What are you doing to overcome it? And I'm telling you, you know, this channel, Fear to Freedom Project, you're looking at the Fear to Freedom Project right here in the flesh. Yes, because, you know, I am still working to overcome fear. But what I'm doing is things like this. This is one thing. Things like this, right? Let's talk about it. I'm putting myself out there. I'm talking to my sisters, and I'm saying, hey, let's have a conversation about it. I'm learning to not run away from it and not be ashamed of it. I'm journaling my way through it. I write it down. When I'm feeling so much fear, I am turning that around and saying, no more. I'm like Couples Light. Like, I have to overcome this. I don't want to live in fear. I am afraid of going out afraid. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that I am going to, you know, that I'm going to go out of here and I did not overcome some fears. I don't want to do that. I'm just not going to do it. So whatever it takes, if it takes me coming on the channel and say, I'm not going to be afraid, I don't, you know, that's what I'm going to do. If it takes me writing down what I'm afraid of, when that comes up in my belly, taking a look at that, and then just reversing it, changing it to the opposite. There is no fear. My confidence is magnetic. I'm telling myself things. I'm telling myself the truth. I am deprogramming. There's a lot of programming that we've had, a lot of it. And listen, bless our parents, okay? Because they gave us what they knew, right? Even our society, think about it, our communities. We were only taught what we knew and we did what we knew. And you know what? Sometimes being confident was not always palpable for our ancestors. They could not say that I'm confident, I know what I'm talking about. They couldn't say those things. So, yeah, I'm doing whatever it takes, Rick. That's right. Whatever it takes. And so, what are you guys doing to overcome fear? What is one thing that you're doing to overcome fear? Healing our inner child, giving ourselves acceptance and love we never received. Thank you, Couples Light. Yes, the inner child. At first, I was saying, I didn't want to be called Debbie anymore, but Debbie got me to Dr. Deborah. I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, because she was, she suffered some traumas. So, one thing you guys are doing, Kels, what's one thing you're doing to overcome the fear?
Asking questions when I'm aware of it. Asking myself questions. Where is this coming from? Why do I feel this way? Being more aware of how I'm feeling versus responding to how I'm feeling. And acting out not knowing. Like a lot of times people are responding to something that they're feeling or they're going through, but they have absolutely no idea what's happening. So I ask myself questions when I feel it. Why am I feeling this way? What is this all about? Where does this come from? Mm-hmm. And when I do that, sometimes I have to tell myself, you're safe, you're loved, you're supported. But I have to tell myself that, and then I can actually feel my body start to calm down.
Yes.
Because that's the truth. Not so much what I'm feeling. I have to identify why I'm feeling this way and what it is and what can I do to change it. But then I have to address it.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. Self-investigation. I love self-investigation. Absolutely. Thank you. What are you doing, Da'Vette?
The same thing. Absolutely. I am self-investigation, and I'm so sorry I don't have my pod. Self-investigation is just the most essential thing that we can do. Everything that's external came from internal. And so if you don't work on the internal, the external never changes. And so when you get those feelings of, or the spidey hairs or whatever the fear or the butterflies in your stomach, whatever it is that happens for you when the fear comes, it could be you react angrily, but whatever it is, being able to stop at that moment and really investigate, why am I so angry right now? Mm-hmm. What about this situation sparks in me this response? And going deeper into why we have the response is the most healing thing ever. Now, it's not the first thing that we often reach for, but it is the most effective thing that we can reach for,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're on my tribe because I come to her, everybody, I go to her. This is one of the ladies that I go to when I'm afraid and like, what's going on? Help. Yeah, so thank you for that. What about you, Marnie? What do you do to overcome fear?
Yeah, for me, it's really having a strong spiritual, devotional divination practice. If I like the self-investigation, yes. And most of the time, what can help me lead into my self-investigation is even just doing a card drawing or just doing a meditation, something that just brings me into something bigger than myself, knowing that it's not just me, I'm not just these fears are not, and sometimes these fears are not even mine is the other piece of it. So sometimes even doing a card pull or something like that, and you're like, oh, this isn't mine. Why am I sitting with this? This is my ancestor's fear. I can release this, but without having that connection to the divine, God, the universe, whatever you connect to, that's how I can overcome the fear. And sometimes if it's something really big that's just activating my nervous system, I will just do, honestly, just a simple pranayama, a simple breath practice to just like not let the fear control me in that moment.
I love that. I love that.
Hey, Deborah, I'm so sorry, but we had a comment, and that I'm not sure the name, but if you read that,
okay, let me go back up, because you know what, we have a few of them. And who's Couples Light? Couples Light is just, I love you.
Yes,
you are really, I really appreciate your engagement, everyone's engagement. Thank you so much. So Couples Light said that we can deconstruct and reverse engineer what and why we are feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, deconstruct it, pick it apart, and then reverse engineer it. Tell yourself the reverse of it.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. And then Aku, who is my sister from Panama, but she's here. She's stateside with us right now. I'm so glad. She said she just started rewatching her favorite childhood Disney movies.
That's the one. That's the one.
Fear of tapping into memories of her childhood. That is so sweet. Oh my gosh.
That's touched me as well. That was something. That was a aha. Maybe that's what I need to do, because I forgot some stuff.
That's Da'Vette saying that. That's Da'Vette.
Aha. That's my little sister. She be tapping in right where I be feeling it we're in. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna use that. I grew up on Disney.
I just wanted to say to that, because I have grandchildren now, and so that's all I'm watching. But if you go back and watch it with your ears now, your spiritual ears, you will hear and see all of the don't lose yourself messages, speaking to your childhood, speaking to your subconscious. They speak directly to our children's subconscious. That's exactly why they can buy into the fairy tale land. We have forgotten that. It is so essential that we go back to that.
Yes.
To believing in something bigger than ourselves, and not just believing, knowing that it shall come to fruition. That's all the dream is a wish your heart makes song is. When you're fast asleep, have faith in your dreams, and someday the rainbow, something like that. But it just speaks to this is coming to you through your belief of it. And my God, that's how much they are speaking to our children. But when we're adults, we don't often see that, and we don't often go back there. And I just had to say that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Oh my goodness.
That's perfect. Yes. Thank you, Da'Vette. Thank you, Couples Light, because she was saying, like, get back into your inner child. And a lot of times I feel so like, oh my God, like I'm so excited. That's when things are working for me. That's when the fear is not there. And I was listening to one of my favorite channels today, and she was talking about like live childlike, like in your knowing, because children, they're not worried about anything. They're in their knowing. They know they're connected. And so that's what we have to get back to, our knowing. Thank you so much. Oh, this is so good. All right, Katherine, what are you doing, my sister? What are you out there doing in Panama?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, one of the things you're talking about, going back to your childhood, because I had the childhood that I did, I don't really have a lot of memories of my childhood. And what I did was I stuffed my feelings. I just did what I had to do. I put my head down and I just sprinted through life pretty much, looking for that elusive finish line. And so now at this age, I have turned things around. I do all the breathing and the tapping. And I found this, I'm going to throw this out here. There's a recent new technique that I found, havening, like safe haven. It's havening. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It's on YouTube. It's amazing, because I get panic attacks. And so I use that, and you can do it yourself anytime, anywhere. So I'm throwing that out for something new, in addition to tapping and breathing.
And so how does that havening work?
Havening, it's a touch, okay? And so it takes you back to a time when you feel safe and you felt nurtured and the safe haven. And so you do some other things with your eyes, and you do some, kind of rewiring of the brain as you're doing this. It's amazing. I've done it during a panic attack, and it really has worked. So I'm throwing that out. But for me, myself, as I stuffed those feelings down, I stopped feeling. So this is all new for me, to be able to get out of my head, because I would rather die than feel my feelings. I have a fear of feeling my emotions.
Me too.
Right? Yeah. And so now I'm trying to ground more into my body, and I'm also looking at where I feel things. Where's that contraction? Why is that contraction? And Marnie, as you were saying, asking questions, because often it's not mine. So I'll say, is this mine? And then, is this true? And if it's mine, then I go through and I do some things. If it's not mine, then I say, thank you, but you can leave now, and send it back to sender or spirit. And I also have learned through feeling my feelings now to fear does have a purpose. So I don't want to get rid of it necessarily. I just want it to be more realistic, okay? I don't have to worry about getting eaten by a lion or a tiger or a bear like my ancestors did. But I want to accept it, acknowledge it. And what's really interesting, one day I really brought up this fear. And when I just acknowledged it and I spoke to it, and it went, I felt like a bubble burst. It was like, somebody blew a bubble up and it went, boop, and I literally felt that. And so I'd heard that happens, but had never experienced it. So it really just wants to be acknowledged and accepted. And then you learn from it, and it releases. So it's been also a way for me to trust and have faith that the universe has my back. I never felt growing up that anybody had my back. I felt very alone, and like I had to figure all of this stuff out myself, and I was in my head. And our heads can only do so much. But when we listen to our souls, a whole nother world and realm opens up to us, things that we can't even understand or believe. So I have trust and faith now that everything is working out well for me, not to me, but working out well for me. And that has just been a lifesaver.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm happy for all of us, because everything is working out for us. And there is no need for us to be afraid. And I am embracing that now. I am learning that. I am accepting it. And I'm embracing that now. So we are nearing the end of our time. And this has been great. And, I am excited about what is to come. Thank you to the panel. Thank you so much. I really honor you for coming here to my channel. I really do. And I do not take this lightly. This is something very big for me, because we are putting out our medicine and our information, and we're putting ourselves out here into the world for the world to see, and we've been genuine and honest about it, and that's what I like. So thank you to everyone that is watching, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to the channel, and you will be notified. Set your notification, because I'm going to be coming on the channel. There's just going to be great things that come out of this channel. I already know. My ancestors, they told me. So I didn't know at first, but I do know now. And so I'm going to pass this over to Marnie. You set the tone for us. And I would love for you to close this circle by pulling a card. And this would be a card, this is like an action step. Like, what's next for us? What do we need to be focused on now? And so you do this so well, and I really appreciate you. Thank you. Uh, Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Couples Light, Proud Southern Belle, my Panama sister, who is right here from you, a charlatan. Don't forget that. And from Aku. All of you are so beautiful. I'm so glad I was able to catch this live tonight. Thank you, because I needed to hear this. Well, you needed to be here to hear. We needed your medicine. We needed what you're doing, that intervention, that new thing, which is being in your child and looking at your Disney films. That's good. I think I'm gonna do that. I've always I thought as a child I suffered some traumas, fear-based traumas early on. So I don't think I was dreaming. I was protecting myself. I was learning protection mechanisms at a very early age. So I'm sure that a lot of us have. But yeah, thank you to Rick, and thank you to Levon, and thank you to Couples Light. I love you. I thank you so much. All right, Marnie, I'm gonna turn it over to you so you can get us out of here.
Thank you, beautiful goddess. And I already shuffled while you were asking the question so that we didn't have to take extra time here. And the cards don't lie, as our beautiful mentor says. We got the Peacemaker, which is persistent patience, which is like, don't force anything, go with the flow. You can see she's just got this beautiful flow going right around her. She's got one foot in the water, one foot on land. It's all working out for you is the message, but just take it easy. It's a moment of healing, harmony, alchemy, just that everything in moderation, but you're creating something new. So do it. Create something new, but don't force it. Right? You can see her in there. This is Goddess Mayat, and she is.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? But that tells you everything.
I love that energy. Yes. Thank you.
Right. So and one of the medicine pieces in here, which I think just fits so perfectly with what Goddess Esther took us through, was write a letter to a personal area in your life of imbalance, addiction, or overindulgence. You can add fear into there, right? Where is that? Write a letter to that area of your life. And the declaration with this beautiful card is, my life is aligned and I go with the flow.
Ooh. My life is aligned and I go with the flow.
Yes, yes.
I'm shimmying on that one. God knows. Esther gave me this shimmy. I love it. I do. It makes me feel good. I feel the energy of it. I accept that. All right. Well, I just want to express so much gratitude to our ancestors. I went to them before I even came here today, asking for their guidance and their wisdom, and in their honor, we are doing this. So I just really thank them. I do. I love my ancestors. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for them, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. So I'm going to close it. Is it any last thing, everybody? If you have one takeaway that you could actually say really quickly, what did you take away from this time that we had together? One thing that you took away from this event. If you're still watching, one thing that you took away from this live event here. Remember the 6 archetypes of fear. So tell me one thing, Esther.
I think that it's knowing that the medicine that you are learning when you are overcoming a fear now is going to be medicine for someone else.
Thank you. Yeah, always for the collective. Bless you. What about you, Kels?
The connection is necessary. Connecting is necessary.
Yes.
It is absolutely necessary to connect.
You've always said that, Kelsey. Kelsey would be like, yeah, we need to connect more, and that is very true.
There's an electricity that is sparked when we come together. And it's proven throughout history for all of the different reasons that it comes together in that way, good or bad. But it's the connection, it's necessary.
Yes.
And that's one of the tricks of war, is to divide and separate. So connection is necessary.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Kels. Miss Katherine, Sister Katherine, Ellie Grace.
Yeah, well, kind of along those lines, Kels, I would say that when we get afraid is to be of service to someone else, to get ourselves out of ourselves. And when you help somebody, that just it's a good distraction. It's a distraction, but it's a good distraction. And you see that somebody else might have it worse than you do, so to speak. But again, accept the fear, acknowledge it, and move forward. Don't let it stop you. So that's my takeaway, is to just keep moving through your life. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Thank you, Miss Katherine. Sister Da'Vette, what's your takeaway?
We are all healing. And man, that feels so good to know that there's a collective body of people doing the work. It's hard sometimes, but it's so necessary. Yeah. And our efforts will affect the collective. And so, we're all healing. At whatever level we are healing at, we are healing. And that's a great thing for a light worker, to know that we're not in this thing alone.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yes, thank you for that reminder. And Miss Marnie, Goddess Marnie, what'd you take away?
When Goddess Esty said fear was contagious, it really made me think, really taking away that thought of just stay within myself. Don't bubble myself into the fear, but that don't necessarily allow someone else to amp up your fear as well. Mm-hmm. So to really just ground yourself and really listen to yourself. And we know the answer already. We know, if we have that fear, it's telling us something else. Like Katherine said, don't get rid of it. It's giving us a signal about something. So listen to it, acknowledge it, love on it, and then move past it without amplifying it.
Yes. Don't make it bigger. And Danae says her takeaway is continuing to show up for herself. Yes. And then Monica said, we're all human and we all have our fears. Overcoming them is up to us. It is. Thank you for that. It is up to us. We get to choose. God loves us so much that we have free will. So the more you think about fear, you're going to live in fear. And if you want to be there, that's your problem. I mean, not your problem. It's your choice, right? It could become a problem, but it is your choice if you want to live there. So it is up to us. I like that. I get to choose this. I get to choose to overcome this. So thank you for that. Well, I love you all so much. Thank you for coming to the panel. Thank you, Esty, for leading us all through this exercise, this writing exercise. And you can always look in the show notes to work with any of these ladies here. Follow them. And yes, we thank you. I give honor and gratitude to my ancestors. And we are out of here. Peace and love, everyone. See you soon. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Peace and love.
Yes, thank you so much.